So for a long time, I used to think that being anxious is a super bad thing, right? Like you don't want to be anxious. It's associated with slipping up. If it's like in a sports scenario, you're anxious, you're going to make a mistake, you're going to fumble, something along those lines, right? But it's the complete opposite when you're talking about business. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely a type of anxiousness which is not helpful whatsoever for growth and for success in business. But that general feeling of being anxious about things does act as a net benefit for being successful in business in general, I'd say. Straight away, for example, if you're, and this has happened to me a bunch of times, if you're leading up to a big launch with your first ever client, you've just signed one, right? You've done all the back end stuff, but you're not quite sure if it's worked. You're not sure if you've set everything up right. What if the SMS doesn't get sent out? What if the pre-call nurture doesn't work? What if the landing page looks weird, right? You've got this lingering anxiety behind you, but that sort of fuels you to make it, this launch, or the one that you're doing, the most perfect example or the best launch that you've ever done, even if it's your first one, right? If you didn't have that anxiety and you sort of had this arrogance almost of like, oh, it'll be fine, I don't have to worry about it, you know, things will work out at the end. They always seem to do that for me. I shouldn't really have to put that much effort into it. The end product wouldn't be as good as if you were anxious. The anxiety fuels you to do better, to be able to basically work harder and stress yourself to the point of making whatever you're doing the best possible example that it could be, right? So never sort of be like concerned about the fact that I'm feeling so anxious all the time. I don't know if this is going to work in business. Like I've never tried anything like this before. The whole point of starting this sort of like business that you're doing or being an entrepreneur or whatever is that you've never done it before. It's not conventional. It's not like what everyone else is doing. So it's going to feel stressful and weird, and it's going to be anxious for you. And it's going to suck, honestly, the first couple months that you're doing it, because you've got no prior experience and no prior sort of knowledge to fall back on of like, oh, well, you know, I've felt this way before, but it did work out at the end. You don't know that, really. You're not sure. You have to have that like sort of thing in the back of your head that, oh, it's going to work, it's going to work, it's going to work. But realistically, deep down, you're like, I'm unsure. I don't know. So using that to fuel your work ethic, to fuel that sort of fire in your belly of wanting to achieve and wanting to prove people wrong and wanting to like tell people like, okay, this is actually working. Like what I'm doing, what I'm putting all of these countless hours behind is going to net me some sort of benefit in the long run, right? That's the most important thing. And that's what that anxiety will help you with, right? It's just that sort of lingering feeling. And honestly, it never really goes away. And that's a good thing, to be honest. Like I've been in business for like 11 months now, around 10 or 11 months that I've been running my info product marketing agency for. And I still feel that way. We had a webinar launch a couple of days ago, right? I was behind all of the backend systems for that. I was doing all the SMS nurture, right? All of the email pre-call flow and post-call, all the landing pages, all of the copy, setting up CTAs on Instagram, right? All of that stuff. I was behind a lot of it. And the entire way through, I was like, geez, like, I don't know about this niche. I'm not sure. Is this the right thing to say? Is this going to really make people sign up? I've never done a webinar before. It was our first ever webinar as well, right? Never done a webinar before. What if it goes wrong? What if no one joins? What if it's a huge flop? That was literally going on in my head all the time. I was like, what if no one joins this webinar? And I'm just sitting there with the client like, oh, people will join soon. Don't worry, man. You know, he paid me $1,000 to basically start it. And he would have been sitting there like, bro, what the hell happened? But those thoughts fueled me to basically make this the best possible landing page that I could, the best webinar that I could. And what happened out in the end is that actually some of the things that I was stressed about did come to fruition. So the SMS didn't work. The email, some of the emails didn't get sent through. The copy wasn't that great. The landing page wasn't amazing, right? And we still netted around 10K rev from the webinar. I think around 8 or 9K profit. But the cash collected was around 9K, including subscriptions was around 10, 11, 12, something like that, right? And that was with all of these things going wrong. So my anxieties actually were true. They became real. But that never stopped me like, oh, I guess I was right. I guess I should just give up now. Like that was never the case. Do you know what I mean? The only thing that happened after that webinar was that I was thinking, oh, this is great. All of these things went wrong and we still made this much money. So what if all of these things go right? How much money we're going to be making? Like, what's the ceiling for this thing? That was like the only thing going through my head, basically, right? I was thinking about all of the things that I could do better next time to actually net me more profit, and all the things that I could do next time to make sure that this will be even better, right? That's all I was thinking about. So it's really a net benefit to have that anxiety in the back of your head. There's no downside to it. You'll think that there's a downside when it's happening. You're like, is this really for me? I'm stressed out. I don't know what to do. Like, it's really confusing me. I'm unsure, but it always helps you in the long run. Even if it doesn't go wrong, like I just said, like those things that I was stressed about actually happened. And the only thing that I got from it was a benefit, because I was like, okay, well, if I actually do it right the next time, the next webinar launch, then it's going to be amazing. It's going to be the best launch we've ever done. It's going to be 10 times better than the one we did initially. And like, that's when all these things went wrong in the first place. So imagine how good they're going to be when they go right. It's always a positive. It's always going to help you out in the long run. And I think, yeah, that's honestly the main reason why making sure that you're having that anxiety moving forward, no matter how much money you end up making, is always going to be a good thing. Because if you didn't have it, humans are weird like that. It's kind of hard to motivate yourself to continually break barriers and push past your limits in business and continually do record months every single month. It's very hard to basically have that motivation like intrinsically. It's a lot easier when extrinsic, is that even a word? Like having stuff outside of basically your own mind occurring to basically shock you into action. Like if you're stressing out about stuff, about things that could possibly happen, that's the best time to do the best work, because you're stressed. You're like in this sort of constant sense and mindset of like, I need to make this work. If this doesn't work, then I'm screwed. And I have that constantly, that sort of mental image of me, if this is not working, like me having to get a normal job, having to like lock back in with with university, like having to actually do well in that, having to get a real job in marketing or something like that, and me just failing this business, right? But realistically, even if that were to happen, all I would do is just maybe work a 9-to-5 for like 2-3 months, save my money up, quit, and then go all in on this again, because I know it works. So there's never a lose-lose scenario. It's always a win. And if you have that mindset of it's always going to be a win, no matter what, it's always going to help out, then you're never going to lose. It's always going to be a net positive, a net benefit for you, right? So that's basically everything. Just remember, always have that sort of, that lingering anxiety. It's never a bad thing. If you're feeling that right now, you've got a launch coming up, you're like, bro, I'm stressed, I don't know what the hell to do. It's never a bad thing. It's always good to have that sort of in the back of your mind, just eating away at you a little bit, because it's going to help you in the long run. It's going to help you do the best work that you possibly could. That's all from me. My Twitter or my X is linked down below. Make sure to follow me on that. I do daily tweets, and I'll see you later.